Morning, students of Primary 4. Today we're going to start Theme 1, I Discover Myself, Unit 3, Part 1, Why Are Plants Green? As usual, we start by the learning objectives of Unit 3. So by the end of this unit, you will be able to listen, read, research, and write about plants and how they help us. Practice making sentences with superlative case. Read, listen to, and understand a short story. Learn about and say words with consonant blends SL and SW. Write the life stages of a sunflower. Research and write a report. So, what is this unit about? This unit is about green plants and how they help us. It also explains the germination process and the parts of the plant. It also talks about the habitats of different kinds of plants. So in this unit, we are going to talk about green plants, and we can all see green plants around us all over the place. It also explains the germination process, which is how the plants grow. It also talks about the habitats of different kinds of plants, and this is where plants live. Start by lesson 1, which is about plants and seeds. And we are going to start by this plant, which is called cacao seed. Did you know that we eat this cacao seed? Yes, we do, because chocolate comes from this plant. Listen and read. This is a dialogue. Dad, come and look. Selim, what is it, Dad? Dad, our tomato plants are growing on the balcony. Look, can you see the leaves and the flowers? Selim, oh yes. But why are the tomatoes green? Dad, tomatoes are green before they are red. Selim, how do we grow new tomatoes? Dad, tomatoes have seeds inside. We can take the seeds and grow new tomatoes. We plant a seed and the plant grows. This is called germination. We water the plant every day and the roots grow under the soil. The plant grows flowers and the flowers become tomato fruits. Selim, that's awesome. And I found a red tomato. Let's have it for lunch. So from this conversation, now we know that in order to plant a tomato, we need to plant the seeds first. We start giving water to these seeds, and this is how the plant grows. The growing of the plant is called germination. We need to water the plant every day. The first thing is that the roots grow under the soil, so we don't see the roots. Then the stem starts growing, and from the stem we have flowers. The flowers have seeds inside, and then we take these seeds and replant it to have more and more plants. Answer the following questions. Where are Dad and Selim? Do you remember? Yes, they were on the balcony watching the tomato plant. What are they talking about? They are talking about their tomato plants. What do they want to do next? They want to have a red tomato for lunch. The first tomato that Selim saw was a green one, so it wasn't ready to be eaten. But later he saw another red tomato which was ready to be eaten. Let's look at these photos and match them to the words. Listen, say, and then match. Number 1, shoot, shoot. So when the plant starts growing above the soil, we get the first part, which is called the shoot. Soil. Can you see the soil? She or he are holding some sand between their hands. This is what we call the soil. We plant the plants or the seeds in the soil in order to have a plant later. Root, and this part is below the soil, so we cannot see the root. Leaf, leaf. Of course, all of us see leaves all over around the plants and the trees around us, and that leaves are green in color. Seeds, seeds. The seeds are found inside the fruit, and after we eat the fruit of any plant, we can take the seeds, plant them again in the soil in order to have another plant. Flower. This is the flower. Flowers have many shapes and many colors. This is the germination process of any plant. First, this is the soil where we start planting the seeds. Okay? When we water the plant, roots start to grow below the soil. Then the shoot starts to grow above the soil, and then we have the leaves. Then we come to lesson 2, plants in Egypt. We are going to read about plant habitats and label the photos. Let's see where some plants grow. First, in the desert habitat. There is not much rain here, so plants don't have enough water to grow. So plants that live in the desert do not need a lot of water. This is the agriculture habitat, where farmers work here. They grow food for us to eat. There are many people working in this process, and there is a lot of water, either from rivers nearby or from rain, but people work hard to get these plants planted. Finally, we have rivers and lakes, and some plants grow near rivers and lakes because they need a lot of water, and this is available in the lake or in the river. Here we have some plants, and we need to know, where do these plants live? Do they grow in a river or a lake, or near a river or a lake? Or do they grow in an agricultural habitat, or do they grow in the desert? Lotus flower. Where does the lotus flower grow? It needs a lot of water, so it grows in a river or a lake. What about the tamarisk tree? As you can see, it doesn't need a lot of water, and it grows in the desert. Bean plant. The bean plant grows in an agricultural habitat, and it needs some water. Reed plant. Again, as you can see from the water, it grows very near or in a river or a lake. Acacia plant. Yes, it grows in the desert and it doesn't need a lot of water. Finally, we have the orange tree, and it grows in an agricultural habitat. Now look and say, we're going to compare the daisy flower and the rose flower, and then compare the rose flower to the sunflower. This is the sunflower, and this is the rose flower. And finally, we have the daisy flower. Okay? The rose is taller than the daisy, and the daisy is more colorful than the rose. Can you make other sentences using the comparative form? Yes, as we can see that the sunflower is taller than the rose, and the rose is taller than the daisy as previously said. Now let's use the adjective short. The daisy flower is shorter than the rose, and the rose is shorter than the sunflower. So if we compare two things, we add er at the end of the adjective, and then we follow the adjective with than to compare two things to each other. Let's look at the fact file and read the differences between the flowers. First, let's see how big is the flower. The daisy is 2.5 to 5 centimeters. The rose is about 6 centimeters and the sunflower is about 7.5 to 15 centimeters. So the smallest one is the daisy and the biggest one is the sunflower. How tall is it? The daisy is about 10 centimeters tall, the rose is about 60 centimeters, and the sunflower is about 1 to 3.5 meters. So here we can see that the sunflower is the tallest and the shortest is the daisy flower. How long does it live? The daisy flower lives around 6 days. The rose lives around 10 days and the sunflower lives around 2 weeks. So again, the sunflower lives for the longest period of time. How heavy is it? The daisy flower is around 20 grams, the rose is around 50 grams, and the sunflower is about 200 grams. So the heaviest one is the sunflower. Now let's read and write true or false. The rose is smaller than the daisy. Is this correct? Let's look at the fact file above and decide. No, this is false because the daisy is smaller than the rose. The sunflower is taller than the daisy. Yes, this is true because remember we said that the sunflower is the tallest one. The sunflower is the biggest flower, and again this is true. The rose lives the longest. False. Remember which one lives the longest? Yes, the sunflower. The daisy is the heaviest. Again, false, because the sunflower is the heaviest. So our language focus today is about the comparison of some flowers. Let's look at the pictures. A daisy is taller than a lotus flower. If we look at the two pictures, we can notice that the daisy is taller. So how did we form the comparative form? We added er to the adjective tall and we followed it by the word than. If we add another flower, which is the reed flower, we can find that the reed is taller than a daisy. So again, we're comparing the reed to the daisy. So what do we conclude? That the reed is the tallest, and this is called the superlative form when we compare more than two things. We looked at all three pictures and we found that the reed plant is the tallest. So what did we do to form this superlative form? We added est to the adjective and the before the superlative form. So it is the tallest. To make a superlative adjective, we add est to the adjective. Tall, this is the adjective. Taller than, this is the comparative form. And the tallest is the superlative form. We use the adjective to describe one flower. We use the comparative form to compare between two flowers. And we use the superlative form to compare all three flowers. Adjectives that end in E, like the word or the adjective nice, we do not add another E, we just add R, so it becomes nicer than and the nicest. My city is the nicest place to live. Some adjectives have special rules. Adjective with one vowel and one consonant at the end, like the word big. Big has a vowel before the last letter. So what do? We double the last letter before adding the ER. So it becomes bigger than and the biggest. Why did we double the G? Because there is one vowel before the last consonant. My cat is the biggest on our street. So what do we do if we have a long adjective, like the word beautiful? We cannot add ER at the end of this long adjective. So what do? We add the word more before the adjective to form the comparative form. and the most before the adjective to form the superlative form. I think a rose is the most beautiful flower. And for adjectives that end in Y, we change the Y into I before adding the ER or the EST. So the word heavy or the adjective heavy ends in a Y. So what do? We add IER to form the comparative form and IEST to form the superlative form. I have the heaviest suitcase. So let's complete this table. We have taller and the tallest. So what do you think the adjective was? Yes, it was tall. What are we going to do with the adjective big to form the comparative form? Yes, there is one vowel before the last letter, so we double the G before we add the ER, so it becomes bigger. And for the superlative, it's the biggest. We doubled the G because there is one vowel before the last consonant. Heavy. Look at this adjective. It ends in a Y. What are we going to do? We're going to change this Y into an I before adding the ER. And we have the superlative form, which is the heaviest. Again, we change the Y into I before adding the EST. For the last one, we have the superlative form, which is the most beautiful. So what was the original adjective? Yes, it was the word beautiful. And in order to form the comparative form, we could not add ER, so we added more before the adjective. Write sentences to compare these plants and animals. Number 1, we have cat, snake, fox, and scary. How can we compare them? A fox is scarier than a cat. Of course, the cat is a pet. It's a small, cute animal. So the fox is scarier. The original adjective was scary, but scary ends in a Y, so we changed the Y into an I before we added the ER. A snake is scarier than a fox. Again, it's the same adjective, scarier. A snake is the scariest animal. So here we have the adjective scary, and we changed it into a comparative form and a superlative form. Now let's look at the plants. Maize, bean, eggplant, delicious. The adjective is delicious. An eggplant is more delicious than a bean. Because delicious was a long adjective, we used more before the adjective to form the comparative form. A maize is more delicious than an eggplant. So a maize is the most delicious plant. For the comparative form, we added more, and for the superlative form, we added most. Let's compare more plants and animals. We have grape, orange, lemon, and we're going to compare them using the adjective big. A lemon is bigger than a grape, and an orange is bigger than a lemon. So which one is the biggest? Yes, the orange is the biggest fruit. And as you can see, we doubled the G because we had one vowel before the last consonant. Bee, beetle, butterfly, and we have the adjective beautiful. A beetle is more beautiful than a bee, and the butterfly is more beautiful than a beetle. So the butterfly is the most beautiful insect. Lesson 3, CLIL, Science, Read and Number. A plant produces pollens in the flower. It uses the pollens to make new seeds. The seeds travel away from the plant. The seeds need a new place to grow. So each plant has a flower. Inside the flower are tiny particles called pollens. These pollens make new seeds, and the seeds travel away from the plant to make a new plant. They need a new place for a new plant to grow. So how do they travel from one place to another? Some seeds can move in the wind, can fly in the wind, because these seeds are very light, they are not heavy. Some seeds can stick to an animal's fur. So when a cat or a dog comes near the plant, these pollens or these seeds stick to the animal's fur. And when the animals move from one place to another, they take the seeds with them. Other seeds can float on water to find a new place to grow. But in order to float on water, these seeds have to be big but light. They don't have to be heavy, so they can float on water. Let's look at these pictures and decide which picture fits which sentence. Okay, so a plant produces pollens in the flower. This is number D. Can you see the flower and can you see the pollens flying around the flower? Some seeds can move in the wind because these seeds are very light. Can you see in picture number A? The seeds and the pollens are flying in the air. And others can stick to an animal's fur. Can you see the dog? And we have some pollens on the hair of the dog. And the last one is the seeds that can float on the water. They are big, but they have to be light. They cannot be heavy. Look and read. Is a plant cell big or small? A plant is made of millions of cells. The plant cell is very, very small. Chloroplasts make the plant green. So why are plants green? Because they have chloroplasts. Chloroplasts give the plant its green color. You can only see them with a microscope. You cannot see them with your eye. You need a microscope to see the cells. The green plant cells make food for the plant. They are like the kitchen. This is the place where food is made for the plant. What is the food that a plant needs? They need sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water. Read the text again. Choose A or B. What makes the plant green? Remember, we said that chloroplasts make the plant green. They give it its green light. Yes, so it's number A. When does the plant make its food? We said that in order to make its food, it needs sunlight. So that means they make their food during the day or at night? Exactly, during the day because they need the sunlight. What does the plant use to make its food? Carbon dioxide and oxygen, or carbon dioxide, sunlight, and water? Yes, number B, carbon dioxide, sunlight, and water. The plant takes in carbon dioxide and gives out oxygen. Now let's read together how a plant cleans the air. People need oxygen so we can breathe. In big cities, the air is polluted because of factories and cars. There is a lot of carbon dioxide in the air. The air is not clean. It's full of carbon dioxide, it's full of dust, it's full of many things that make it polluted. So green plants take in carbon dioxide from the air. The plant needs this carbon dioxide to make its food. The plant also produces oxygen. It gives out oxygen. So plants in our houses and parks give us oxygen to breathe. So they clean the air from the carbon dioxide and they give out oxygen needed for breathing. In some cities like Paris and Milan, people are growing plants on apartment buildings. These plants keep the buildings cool and help with air pollution. the people who live in the building can breathe cleaner air. Why? Because plants take in carbon dioxide needed to make its food and give out oxygen needed for the humans to breathe. Now let's match the words with the definition. Polluted. Remember we said that the air was polluted with carbon dioxide from factories and cars. So polluted here means dirty from factories and cars. What about oxygen? Oxygen is a gas that's found in the air. People need this gas in order to breathe. So it's a gas in the air that people need for breathing. What about carbon dioxide? Again, it's a gas and it's found in the air, but it's needed by green plants to make their food. Thank you for listening and see you in Unit 3, Part 2.